All righty, let's go ahead and kick this off. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Auerbach. I am the Interim Director of the Office of Innovation and Commercialization. Mahalo for joining us. We're going to spend the next 90 minutes talking about some pretty interesting and timely topics. What we're hoping that the audience will get out of this over the next 90 minutes, one will share kind of a landscape assessment of the current economic climate. Secondly, we'll talk about how innovation and entrepreneurship across the UH system and some of the affiliated resources can play into helping recover as we go through this economic downturn. We'll share a little bit about the difference between an incubator and an accelerator. And then more importantly, how these unique programs that you're going to be hearing from can be used to take your ideas from concept to market to social impact or commercialization. As most of us are painfully aware, the current COVID situation, Hawaii, we're facing a 34 to 37%, depending on which week you look at, unemployment rate. Think of that. That's 1/3 of our community is actually unemployed. The US unemployment rate is now at about 14.7%, highest it's been since the Great Depression. Further evidence that the COVID-19 pandemic has devastated America, unlike any other national historical catastrophe. And if you think back to the Great Depression, and if the past offers any future, consider what went down in the Great Depression, 1930s, following the 1929 stock market crash. That's the year following that terrific and frantic innovation surfaced. Gave birth to innovations such as helicopter, the jet engine, sunscreen, canned beer. Yeah, it couldn't figure out how to compress beer in cans, and it was done in the Great Depression, 80 pounds per square inch, believe it or not, and that's why we have canned beer today. Hotels, rental cars, and hospitality industries have been the hardest hit. Couple this with the continued advanced technology, the growth of automation, AI, machine learning, among other yet to be developed technologies. These will over time dramatically reshape our communities and the global economy. Given the current challenge further exacerbated by COVID-19, I consider it vital for us to lead and support meaningful innovation, entrepreneurship, science, discovery, upskilling, cross-skilling talent, IP, and building resilience to our communities, and helping develop and nurture new economic sectors for Hawaii and beyond. Startup ideas, as you hear from some of our speakers, can range from deep science to technology, social enterprise impact, aquaculture, value-added products, and more. And we're structuring these programs here at UH to serve as pathway, on-off ramp to many of the other ecosystem players across the community, Blue Startups, Manahop, Elemental, et cetera, Hawaii Investment Ready, you name it. Really viewing this as an on-off ramp to many of those great programs in the community. And in order to help Hawaii economy get back on track, you'll learn more about how the UH programs are addressing some of the needs to support new economic development. Today, you're going to hear from 3 accelerators and 1 incubator. And this is going to be a great opportunity for you to hear from some of the past cohort participants from those incubators and accelerators. Ask questions. We'll have Q&A for folks as well. And with that, let me segue into who you're going to be hearing from. So we're very fortunate to have leaders across the University of Hawaii system today with us. First, you're going to hear from New Futures Purple Prize. Then we're going to go into UH Ventures Accelerator, and then Hatch. And they're also, like I indicated, you're going to hear from some of the past cohorts, and they can really talk about their journey and their experience. Most of you know these programs are targeted for UH students, faculty, staff, and alumni. And so let's now get on to the next portion, which is introducing our lineup. And one of the things I want to make sure, since we're doing this virtual, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll address those after each presenter. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll do a summary as well. So We're going to try to get all the questions as much as possible. As I indicated, there's 4 unique programs. You can participate in the journey of each of these kind of as a pathway or in and out, depending on what your needs are. And to talk a little bit more about kind of that pathway and the journey, I'm going to hand it over to Alec Wagner, and Alec is going to talk a little bit about the pathway. Thanks, Alec.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everybody. My name is Alec Wagner. I'm the director of the Purple Prize, which is a Purple Night Up program that I'll have a chance to introduce briefly later on in the presentation. But thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day, to spend some time with us, learning about these programs and for your initiative in thinking about creating new ideas, accelerating existing ideas, and developing great innovation now in times like this. It's admirable. Anyways, what I've been kind of tasked to do is to walk you through kind of an overview of where each of these programs are staged in the venture development continuum, if you will. Steve is assembled, and we're super thankful for Steve assembling or putting this group together. Steve's assembled a bunch of folks in the innovation community to link up and kind of to create a pipeline for UH students and alumni and people in the community as well to potentially develop these ideas all the way from the point where you're just having an inkling for an innovation or a new business, all the way out to the point where you're potentially creating a sustainable business. You're in growth stage. You have some indications of product market fit and are investment ready. And we'll kind of just sort of walk through where each of those programs sit. And then during this webinar, you'll have a chance to double click into each of those programs and hear from the folks that run them. Steve, can you guys see my screen? Yep.
We're good. Yep.
Great. Anyways, the first program that's going to be presented today is with Kamu Enos, and he'll share a little bit more about New Futures, which really takes people with a passion for something in the space of indigenous innovation or ancestral wisdom and technology, and helps you to conceptualize an idea, really bake that idea out, so that it's in a good place to start moving forward on it, and that you have some level of confidence that it's worth your time to pursue. That can then be taken by programs like mine and the Purple Prize, where we take also indigenous innovation projects, and we help to take those ideas, help you to bring products to market, help you to get a little bit more conviction in the idea, and ultimately develop business models, get ready for that next stage. The same things happen in some of the PACE programs that Peter and Crystal will share later on in the call. And then it sort of all flows into the UH Venture Accelerator if you're a student or alumni or related to the UH ecosystem, where you might be able to achieve some, or you might be able to raise some investments and seek some acceleration. They really help you to further validate that idea and hit some new proof points, gain some indications of viability. And then from there, if you're in the aquaculture space or, and actually connected to the aquaculture space, which I'm learning is so much larger from talking to Wayne and Crystal, you might have the ability to participate in the Hatch Accelerator program, where you'll further validate your company and your project, bring it to market, and potentially grow the company, creating repeatable revenue and seeking investment. So all really great programs that are linking together to provide good resources and the ability for UH-originated teams to do a lot in a short period of time, and for innovation to happen statewide. So really excited to be a part of the call, and thank you guys all for joining. I'll turn it back to you, Steve.
As Alec had indicated, first up is New Futures in the Purple Prize team. Kamuela Enos is going to talk, is the Director of Office of Indigenous Innovation, is going to talk about New Futures. Alec, you just heard from Alec, and then Khaleesi Mosio is going to talk about, and she's the founder of Project Footprint. She'll talk a little about her experience. Then we're going to go into the UH Ventures Accelerator. Sandra will join Crystal Lee, Peter Rowan, and Alberto Gonzalez. Alberto will share his experience as part of the journey through the UH Ventures Accelerator. And then we're going to bring it home with Hatch, Crystal Johnson, Wayne Murphy, and then Heidi Kunli, who will share her experience going through the last Hatch cohort. So I'm going to stop there and hand it over to Kamu.
Thank you, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Making sure. You can never tell. Good, awesome. So mahalo, everybody, and thank you for everyone out there in Zoom land who's watching us. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this lovely Wednesday afternoonish. I want to just jump in really quickly. So as you mentioned, I am the new Director of Indigenous Innovation for University of Hawaii. The position that is specifically designed in relationship and partnership with practitioners in the Hawaiian community to lift up what has been happening for years in our community and the work that we have been doing in bridging the deep sciences of our ancestors in contemporary spaces. So places like Ma'o Farms and Purple Ma'ea are key examples of that. So the New Futures Challenge is really the key thing we're here to talk about today. And I think what's really exciting about it is it's focused, especially if you're watching this as a student, on UH students. We are, as Alec pointed out, at the starting point where we want to get UH students interested in the program to be onboarded. It is a collaboration between the University of Hawaii and Purple Ma'ea Foundation. Alec shared a little bit about, and it's really something I'm excited about it personally. We just ran through our first cohort earlier this year, where Khaleesi will be speaking to, who took top honors to talk about it. So in essence, the New Futures Challenge is predicated on this idea of how do you turn ancestral systems into contemporary solutions. And it's concurrently designed not just to have people build prototypes, but build themselves. It's, you can next slide, Alec. I think it's really a call out to students who have a love of land, of community, and for culture. And are really, really passionate about how do you take those things and translate them into something that can be implemented at a scale that they're more than just an idea, but they're an actual practice, a practice that can really create outputs and economic development, but also have social, ecological, and cultural resonance. So how do you do that? That's what we're really looking for students who are interested in that framework, and we want to help them very specifically. Why this is a call to action at this moment, even pre-COVID, the world is going through unprecedented change. And I think as Native Hawaiians and many Indigenous people, we've lived through changes in recent history that we've had to adapt to, and we're forced to thrive. And I think about so much technologies that our ancestors had in the ancient times are as relevant then as they are now to navigating change. In the spirit of navigating, we're kind of using the framework of navigating and the metaphor of the va'a or the canoe to kind of talk about how we have to transition. And what we kind of run the students through in this metaphor framework is, like our ancestors, had to have been Hawaiian meant that you had to have left an island and moved here. And what was the process of leaving an island to getting to where you are now? They had to recognize the conditions have changed. So getting clear on what are the changing conditions around you that are compelling you to have to make the shift. The second thing we know is that they followed birds. They understood that the birds were going someplace. So there was a premise. So what is the bird? What is this idea that you have that's really deep within you that's driving you to look at, hey, there is an opportunity here to navigate that space. The third thing we think about in this work is, well, what's that island? If you're gonna go and leave, you better make sure you're going to someplace. So what is that island, as we like to think of, what is that preferred future that you want to be able to help build to answer the needs of today? And where we land, I think, which is a key part, the framework that we use in the New Futures Challenge, is what is your canoe? What is your va'a? What is that prototype that you're going to use to get you from point A to point B? So it is And I mean, it isn't a place to take ideas, and it has all the hallmarks of Accelerator and those types of places where you build stuff out. But it's also really deeply a continuation of this process that all of our ancestors, no matter where you're from, used to adapt to thrive in changing circumstances. What this program will look like, given COVID, a lot of things are up in the air, but we had intended for it to be a 12-week course to extend from the fall of 2020 into the spring of 2021, which will basically be comprised of Saturday workshops. These workshops will be at the intersect of culture, entrepreneurship, sustainability, and technology. So there is a technological aspect of this. But we understood that technology is not new. Technologies are ancient too. Our ancestors had ahupua'a systems, which were closed loop systems that they managed ecosystems in their valleys. That was technology. The moon calendars or algorithms. These things are ancient, deployed in contemporary spaces. So tech that aligns with those principles, but a tech where you really design to calibrate to between people's human, spiritual, and ecological concerns. The cool thing too is that you'll get potentially an opportunity to get invested in by building something that we can take in front of people and you have an opportunity to pitch. There can be resources afforded to you to help you scale your idea and take it to the next level. You could also intersect with many of the other organizations that may be speaking today. What we're looking for in students is students who are willing to commit time, their intention, a willingness to learn, and a willingness to scale. So I can go on, but I think what is actually more important is to segue over to Khaleesi. Khaleesi took top honors in our last cohort on her project Footprint. And Khaleesi exemplifies exactly what we were hoping to see, not just in the person who she is and how she went about it, but in the project that she's been able to stand up.
Aloha kako. My name is Khaleesi Malcio, and I'm the founder of Project Footprint, which is a platform that is meant to be for users who want to offset their environmental impact by sponsoring trees that will go to farmers to raise and reap the co-benefits. And just to show you, just to step you through the idea, imagine you're going on a flight and you want to calculate the carbon footprint of that flight. And so Project Footprint would do that for you, and it will tell you how many trees it would take to sequester that. But it will also give you the ability to sponsor those trees, and then those trees will go to a local farmer here. And as a result, the trees will also help with global warming and sequestering of carbon. And so through that phase, what we're doing is really creating 3 points of regeneration for the user who wants to contribute, for the farmer who can reap the benefits from having a food crop, and of course, planet Earth. So this is through our service and our product. And so that's just the idea behind that. And it really came out of what I do as a farmer. I'm a breadfruit farmer. And so breadfruit is sort of the star tree here, our legacy with high cultural value, but also huge potential to solve our food issues here in Hawaii. And I'm also a student at UH. I'm a PhD student in the tropical conservation, I'm sorry, that was my master's, in the tropical plant and soil sciences division, where I do crop modeling. And it kind of brings together all my interests, which is breadfruit, modeling and mapping, and then looking at adaptation. How can we, as specific peoples, adapt to a changing climate using our traditional knowledge? And so I was presenting some of the results of my work at a conference. This is a map showing the global suitability of breadfruit in 50 years' time. The blue areas show where it will become suitable, and the black areas is where it doesn't change, and then the yellow areas is where the suitability decreases. So you can see that there's like a huge potential for breadfruit to be around in the future and a good crop to invest in. And so at this conference, I was recommended to join New Futures. And when I looked into it, I could see that it really aligned well with what we do in the Indigenous Cropping Systems Lab, which is really to understand how our ancestors did agriculture in the past, and to use that to provide recommendations on how to move forward. So a lot of people don't think, conducting agriculture with sticks and stones as very innovative, but it wasn't necessarily the tools that our ancestors used, but it was how they understood the environment and how they used that to drive their food systems is what we're calling innovation, right? So like the dryland Kohala field system here on Big Island, this is where I am, I'm calling from Hilo, their understanding of the environment allowed them to line up rocks that help and plant sugarcane that help to trap moisture, and allow them to feed hundreds and thousands of people with the very little that they had, right? So you guys spoke about innovation coming out of challenges and shortages. And so that's a perfect example of how we try to understand that and how we try to use it to move forward. But with New Futures, it really aligned with my idea for Project Foodprint, and with breadfruit as a way to forest, to plant more trees in Hawaii and help the farmers keep them front and center. And so one of the most valuable things that I got from New Futures was really the guidance on how to track the lineage of your idea, and then how to root it in your Indigenous values or your community, right? So that was really important to me. It's very rare and it's unique to New Futures and to Purple Prize, which I'm part of now. So really great value there. They also provide guidance and resources and bring together experts in the field that really help you to narrow your focus into what's relevant and what's going to be successful, but to also help you move away from your idea, build on it, and get to the point where you're looking at things like, discovering your customers and building your minimal viable product. And then also during this time, through New Futures, you're working with a cohort, and I really enjoyed that part of it. It was very motivating to be around like-minded people who, you can learn from each other, but you also give each other energy, the motivation to really keep going. And so that was really valuable to me. And in fact, during our cohort was when the pandemic came to Hawaii, right? So we had to go into isolation through that time. And I commend New Futures for doing this, but they really helped to do that transition seamlessly. So we took it online and we were communicating through Zoom, and it still didn't change the dynamics. It felt really still motivating. In fact, a little bit more, because now we were making a point to connect, making more effort to connect, which I find that, everybody's trying to do that now. So it's one of those great lessons from the pandemic. But with the pandemic, it happened, at a time when we were already working on ideas dealing with how to improve our food systems and how to improve our cohesiveness as a community. And so the situation really just kind of validated that, and validated the importance of the ideas that this cohort was working on, exchanges through our ahupua'a and how to keep each other supported emotionally. I mean, these are great ideas that the pandemic just helps to, to just emphasize or bring attention to or magnify the importance of it. So So it is really important to have these sort of think tanks in the space to be able to help those ideas flourish. And I don't know if you guys saw the news last night, but they were talking about how Young Brothers is trying to deal with, the cut in their business. So they're reducing their shipping by 30%, right? I mean, we're right now talking about opening up Hawaii, and everybody's concerned about, people are going to start not supporting their farmers, which is the big thing for us. But it also tells us that this is going to be around for a while yet. The effects are still going to be felt further along, and that maybe the solutions are really right here in front of us, right? With our experiences and our practices and our values. And I can already see that happening with this cohort, and I hope to keep seeing that with the next and further on. So yeah, I just wanted to leave you with that, and that's it for me.
Mahalo nui, Khaleesi.
Thanks so much, Khaleesi. I think that, thank you so much, Khaleesi. I think that your leadership and your clarity is so impressive. So mahalo for sharing your journey and the stuff that you are creating. And we're so fortunate to have worked with you over the course of New Futures, and then now on the Purple Prize, I get a chance to work with you a lot closer. And it's exciting. There's some challenges because of these times, of course, but we're dealing with those. And that's been, I guess, just part of this process. But as folks in this innovation space, we're all agile and reactive quickly to these situations, and so we're making changes and innovations in our own programming as needed. Anyways, in the Purple Prize, just to go over this really quickly and to move us along, I just want to talk quickly about what this program is and what we do with the founders that we bring in, who are like Khaleesi, have these, are excellent people, have these incredible ideas for projects and products that are rooted in our place, rooted in the values of this place, and have come from an indigenous mindset in a lot of cases. And that's hard to find, but we enjoy it a lot when we do find those people. And we help you to, over 6 months, and just to 8 teams, develop your product, gain some traction, build a business model and plan for your future growth, which may include some of the other accelerators in the call. Our goal as an organization and as program operators is to really over-resource our founding teams, who are often first-time founders or come from unconventional backgrounds, non-tech backgrounds, even though they are operating in the tech space, to really set you up for success. And some of the resources we provide are working capital, workshops, a lot of workshops, and a lot of these sorts of moments for engagement. Khaleesi mentioned a think tank. We have some of those kinds of activities where people gather and share their thoughts and collaborate with each other in a cohort experience. We connect people with great mentors. We have a lot of connections in the region to help you to branch out your network and expand that network that can help you to get to that next step. When coronavirus sort of the situation neutralizes a little bit and things come back to our old normal, we'll have workspace available for you to work on your projects in Halauinana, in town, and of course there's a support network and the amount of community engagement that we do in the community when we are able to access the community, but also in learning about our culture and how to bring that forth in our business ideas and our innovations. In terms of funding, the way that it works is that we set up a demo day, which we call Kilo Hoku. And there we grant a number of non-dilutive awards. Non-dilutive means that we don't take equity in your company for the capital that we give. Over the last 3 years, we've deployed $185,000. And our average funding size, the average check size is a little over $5,000 per team. The greatest check that we've given in the last 3 iterations of the program $40,000 to a team called Pelagics, or now EK Solutions, last year. And you can learn about those teams and learn about us more at our website, purpleprize.com. I think the best place for you to sort of keep tabs on our program is either through social media or through our newsletter. Definitely recommend the newsletter because there's some cool content there. That's us. And you can kind of click the top right corner of our website in the little box there that says subscribe at purpleprize.com. So yeah, check out the website. I'll turn it back over to Kamu to close this up.
Okay. Well, mahalo, Khaleesi and Alec. And I'll just close because I know we're running tight on time. Just with this real key point. The students who are enrolling at University of Hawaii now will be, in my mind, our next great generation. They're going to be inheriting so much challenge. And I think they're going to be moving into a space where maybe a job isn't a natural, that you can't just passively go to college and work, that you're going to have to be the entrepreneur to build. And I think that moving from college as a passive thing that you kind of go through, and hopefully you get something when you come out, to being a navigator, to enter with intention and to enter and to build that island. If you're listening as a student right now, you're going to be that person. And we have all the responsibility in the world to set you up to succeed. And we have all the faith that you can do it. So that's what New Futures is. That's what Purple Prize is. And having listened to Khaleesi, you can see that we're not joking. The stuff that she's doing and the power that she brings and her vision, we're humbled to be working with students of that caliber, and we're looking forward to more. You can contact me, and we'll have to close. You can just reach me on email. We have our slide up. It's kenos@hawaii.edu if you are interested. Given the moving target that COVID's providing us, we're committed to something. We're just gonna have to figure out what that will look like. But I'm the point of contact, and I would love to be a part of helping take these ideas that you may be holding and turning in the interest areas that we share and turning into something tangible. So mahalo everybody for your time. Aloha.
Now we're going to transition to UH Ventures Accelerator. Pleased to reintroduce Sandra Fujiyama, Crystal Lee, Peter Rowan, and Alberto Gonzalez. They're going to walk us through that experience. And hang on, I got to chat real quick. Let's see before we go to those. Okay, let's do it.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see the screen okay. So I'm Peter Rowan from the Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship, and I'm going to talk really briefly about what PACE does by way of introduction to the UH Ventures Accelerator, and Crystal Lee's going to take over and discuss that. So our main mission is to help entrepreneurs, and like Kamu said, we're working on the next generation of great Hawaii entrepreneurs. And so our programs are designed to educate and support and provide financial assistance, including investment, to entrepreneurs as they begin the journey or even before the journey and move through to the market. So let me describe a few of our programs very briefly and how they link up together. So entrepreneurship is hard. We all know that, and it takes a while. In fact, even though it seems like some of these success stories we read about in the news came out of nowhere, most of them have been slogging away at it for 5 to 7 years. And most of the companies fail actually in the first 2 years. And so we've designed programs that are there for you as entrepreneurs during that roughly 2-year period. Now the time is obviously varying. It might be 2 months and it might be 20 years for some companies. So I like to say that our programs are designed to help people from, before they have an idea on a napkin, when they might be thinking about being an entrepreneur, or they want to join an entrepreneurial team, or they want to learn more about how to start a company, all the way through to the point where they have a product, they're dedicated to the business, and they're looking for external resources in the form of an investment or in form of mentors and advisors and so forth. So the 5 programs you see on this screen line up rather nicely with that, roughly 2-year period. In the fall, we have what we call the UH Breakthrough Innovation Challenge. We're just trying to shake ideas out of the woodwork at the UH system. And the bar is very low. So anyone with an idea that they think could be innovation and could have a big impact on the market, on any market, is encouraged to compete in that. And at that point, they get great feedback from mentors and judges and fellow participants about whether or not there's something worth pursuing. And they might take that to a more serious stage in our UH Ventures competition, which is a competition we run in the spring. It's our flagship event for the spring. It used to be called the Business Plan Competition. And by this point, the entrepreneur would have wanted to recruit a team, and we might help them with that through some of the networks that the networking events and so forth that we run at Pace. And then now, having gone through that experience, they might want to take a serious run at this business and be ready to put essentially full time into it for a period at least. And we run Summer Startup Launchpad. That's a 6-week boot camp, the goal of which is to spend 6 weeks intensively demonstrating to yourself and to others that you're solving a problem worth solving, and essentially ending up on the last day of the 6-week session presenting a go, no-go decision for the business. And after that, we have 2 more programs, one called Liftoff Advisors, where we take promising teams and assign them a professional advisory board from the community and work with them every month for 6 months on hitting milestones. And if they hit those milestones, they're eligible for significant grant funding. And then the goal of Liftoff Advisors is really to get people ready for the UH Ventures Accelerator. And, the main goal line at that stage, which Crystal will talk more about, is investor readiness. So by the time we as UH are ready to make a hard dollar investment in the equity in your company, we want to see that you're committed, that you have a product or service that's been at least somewhat borne out in the market with early pilot customers, and that you have the potential to prove your concept and scale the business. So I'll hand it off to Crystal to go into the details about the UH Ventures Accelerator. UH has been running this program since 2014. It got rebranded as UH Ventures Accelerator recently, and we just finished our first cohort under that brand. Go ahead, Crystal.
Thanks, Peter. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm happy to share a little bit more about the UH Ventures Accelerator program. So as Peter mentioned, the goal of this program is to help the university make investments into startups and accelerate those companies into the marketplace. And the program started in 2014. We just wrapped up our 7th cohort this past spring. And over the last few years, it's received national recognition. It is a competitive process. We've received over 500 applications and accepted 44 teams and made 24 investments. And I'm happy to say that more than 50% of these companies are still in operation, having raised about $20 million in capital. Here's a quick snapshot of the portfolio companies, and you'll be able to hear from one of them later today, but you'll see that they are across various industries. And as far as the program structure is, what we're offering is a high-touch portfolio management. So not just while you're in the Accelerator program, but even after graduating from the Accelerator program, we'll continue to work with you and make sure that you have the right resources to be successful. We're really focused in the Accelerator program on revenue and growth, and we do this through the Lean Startup methodology. If you're not familiar, it's applying the scientific method to building a company. So you're going to develop a hypothesis, go out and gather data through massive amounts of customer interviews, collect all that data and glean insights into making the right strategic decisions for your business. And so it's not a class, it's a lot of learning by doing and really going out there and getting all that feedback from potential customers. We offer 2 cohorts a year, and so we are currently recruiting for our fall cohort. When PACE took over the Accelerator program, we slimmed down the size of the cohort to 4 to 6 teams, and that's just so that we can provide you that tailored experience and provide you that attention and dedicated mentorship that you need to be successful. It is a 12-week program. There's a little plus because we hold a demo day or a showcase after the 12 weeks are done. We expect teams to be putting in 40 hours per week with a minimum of 10 direct contact hours. So we're really looking for commitment here from the co-founders. As far as funding goes, we're able to offer you up to $75,000. The first $25,000 is with a small equity exchange, and then we're able to offer you an additional $50,000 of matching funding. As I mentioned, it's a 12-week program, and so every week we get together and we hold a cohort meeting. You have one-on-one coaching or mentorship. We bring in speakers, we have workshops and different activities with the cohort. And when we're back on campus, you'll have the opportunity to work out of our co-working space at PACE at the Charlotte College of Business. So all of this combined should equal about 10 direct contact hours per week, but we expect that the teams be putting in 40 hours per week on the business. Mentorship and coaching is a huge component of any accelerator program. And so this past spring semester, we had these 4 coaches come in. They met with the teams every week, listened to the progress that they've made and provided advice and feedback. And so Eric Taylor is an angel investor. Jill's worked with many startups. Susan Yamada is the current director of UH Ventures, and Lee Wang is an entrepreneur. And so these folks provided really valuable feedback to the teams every week to keep pushing them forward. If you are interested in applying, this program is open to anyone with any sort of affiliation with the university across all 10 system campuses. So whether you're at Manoa or UH Hilo or a community college, you're welcome to apply. It's open to alumni, faculty, staff, students, and licensees of UH technology from our UH system. We're really here to support entrepreneurs born out of the University of Hawaii system. As far as the team size, entrepreneurship is a sport, and so we want to see a minimum of 2 people on your team, and that's just really going to help you. This is a rigorous program, and you'll be able to keep motivating each other through the program and while building your business. We'd like to see 1 full-time founder, and outside investor readiness is a requirement of the program. So whether you've been through a program like Purple Prize or our Summer Startup Launchpad program, maybe developed a minimum viable product or have some pilot customers, that sort of readiness is a requirement of the Accelerator program. What we'd really like to see are committed co-founders with complementary skills. So maybe a business person and a technologist, existing customers with some revenue coming in, and intellectual property. One of the main objectives of the Accelerator program is to help commercialize technology and innovation developed all across the 10 UH system campuses. So if you have any sort of intellectual property, that's a bonus for you. And of course, meaningful market traction. And we hope that you'll consider applying if you fit these eligibility criteria. Our application process, so we have a rolling application. You can apply at any time throughout the year. However, if you would like to be considered for the fall cohort, we recommend that you apply by June 22nd. I think that's, let me just double check the camera. Yep, June 22nd. From there, if we feel that you're a good fit for the Accelerator program, we'll invite you to a long form application. There's an interview, and then we hope to make selection in July. Sandra is on the call, and she's our lead in working out the participation agreements, and then we hope to kick off the program in late August or early September. Oops. And now at this time, I'd like to call on Alberto Gonzalez, who's the co-founder of Rendezvous. Alberto started by participating in Peter's Entrepreneurs Practicum course, where he fleshed out the idea for Rendezvous, which was developed in the Lava Lab, and since then has participated in several of our programs, winning our business plan competition, and most recently participated in the spring cohort of the Accelerator. So I'd like to turn it over to Alberto.
Thanks, Crystal. Yeah, hi, aloha. Thank you for joining the Zoom call. And yeah, my name is Alberto Gonzalez, and I'm I'm a PhD student in computer science in the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And as Crystal was saying, I work in the Laboratory of Advanced Visualizations and Applications, known as LAVA, led by our advisor, Jason Lee. Though most of my research is focused on artificial intelligence and data analytics, a core part of my interest and research lies in the intersection between humans and machines and collaborative work. So I don't know if you might have seen or heard about the systems that Lava deploys to run large display walls for collaborative work known as cyber canoe systems. Basically, we allow multiple users to interact on large display walls, which is not a technology that was available before. So inspired by this technology and the line of work, me and other students in the lab decided to participate in the UH business competition organized by PACE in 2018, as Crystal was saying, and we were lucky to win the competition and eventually funded Rendezvous in August of that year. The idea was disrupting the way that people were collaborating online at the time. The PACE programs, as I'm saying, they helped us from the beginning. So we started participating on the business competition. As Crystal said, I participated on the practicum from Peter before. The Office of Innovation and Technology also helped us from the start to organize the technology and advise on business strategy and also on the law strategy. I would say that the main thing that we do, so the main problem with collaboration is that if you think about how you're working today, and this is a little bit more intuitive today that everybody of you have probably been working remotely in the past couple of months. You're using all of these tools simultaneously to collaborate together. So it's calculated and estimated that around 75% of the employees are working using 5 applications at the same time. And we are toggling between 10 different applications per hour when we are working. So that is going to storage providers like Google Drive and getting to video conferencing systems like Zoom, messaging in Slack, or editing documents in Google Drive. And this is a main cause of frustration and productivity loss just because you're always switching context between all of these applications. So in essence, what Rendezvous is doing is organizing and centralizing all your collaboration in the same platform. The basic idea of it is that we resemble more or less what a collaborative desktop would be for your teams. So we integrate with your favorite applications like Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, and mix that with video conferencing and allow you to work with all of this in the same workspace. Very similar to the way that you would be working on your own local computer with all your team. The main thing is that building companies is very complicated. When I started this in 2018, I knew that it was difficult, but I didn't know it was this difficult. So there are so many things that you need to know. It's impossible to know all of this beforehand. So all of the programs that PACE is providing and all of these programs that just allows us, the students, and dealing with entrepreneurs and advisors that have done this before, that have different expertises, things that you probably won't know, even though if you know a lot of things. We decided to join the UH Venture Accelerator to drive the business to the next level. And using this time on this accelerator, we've been able to release our beta version of the product right now that is live. If you want, you can take a look at rendezvous.io, or you can look at our channels in YouTube to take a look at the videos of the things that we can do. And I would certainly advise anyone with a real idea for creating a company to join or sign up to any of these programs, just to focus the idea, iterate over it, and then it's invaluable, again, the capabilities and the advice that we were getting from all of these people that would be so difficult, I guess, like years ago when all of these things weren't available. So that's basically for me. If you have any questions or something that you want to ask me, just shoot it on the chat or just email me directly. That would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, Alberto, and congratulations on defending your PhD. You just graduated with your PhD, so congratulations. It's been an honor to work with you, and thank you so much for sharing your experience with PACE and with the Accelerator program.
Thank you, guys. You've been great.
So just to wrap up, this is just a snapshot of our team. This is our core team at PACE, and we work really closely with Steve and Sandra from OIC to manage the Accelerator program. And then finally, we encourage you to apply. This is the website with the application. It's currently online. And if you want to be considered for the fall cohort, please apply by June 22nd. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Crystal, Peter, and Alberto. There is a question, and it's from Lusana. Aloha, Alberto. I am from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Where are you from? And what is your email?
I'm from Spain. You got my accent there. My email is agon@hawaii.edu. agon@hawaii.edu. And let me write it on the chat though too.
Yeah, and I'll do another accentuation. You know, he defended his PhD, finished a PhD while going through this program. So quite the accolade and a role model for many to see how he's progressed through all of the programs available to UH. So Alberto, thank you very much for sharing the journey and the story. I really, really appreciate it. And hats off to you on that PhD.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you so much for everyone.
Any other questions for Crystal, Peter, Alberto before we transition? Okay. Next up, bringing it home, we've got the team from Hatch. So Crystal Johnson, Wayne Murphy, and Heidi Kunli. I will hand it off to you to take it from here.
Aloha, everybody, and thanks once again for joining the session here this evening. And I think I echo much of what's been said already with the other programs who do an amazing job of nurturing entrepreneurship. And I guess from where people are right now in the world, you know, I myself as an entrepreneur in the last challenging times in early noughties, you know, I pretty much lost everything in my business and had to try and reinvent myself like many others. And I think right now we're all in a position where we need to do that. And, you know, the definition of an entrepreneur, you know, is someone who creates something out of nothing. And I think the role that UH plays and also the other programs in nurturing that and finding that and developing it will play a critical part in how Hawaii kicks out of these challenges ahead. But in that respect, I would just like to maybe talk a little bit about aquaculture and the opportunity that Hawaii has from an aquaculture perspective. Hatch is a global program. It's the world's first sustainable aquaculture accelerator program. We're really interested in finding new technologies out there that help make the world's production of seafood more sustainable, less impact on the environment and good for the earth. And I know that echoes much of the different programs ethos also. So, you know, we're really, really happy to be in Hawaii, and we have built some really good partnerships at Nelha. We call it the aquaculture playground. It's got some of the most amazing farms down there, world class, and really from our perspective, we want to attract, you know, talent and develop talent there and bring and raise the profile of Hawaii globally as a global center of excellence for aquaculture. And we do that with some of our partners, as you can see on the screen there, some of the world's leading companies in the aquaculture space. And we hope to open up our recruits or our cohorts and our teams that we invest in to, you know, engage with these companies with a view to building out and scaling their companies. But just for everybody out there, just to give a quick run through what Hatch is, we are a global accelerator program. We have locations in Hawaii, in Bergen in Norway, which is a very mature and complex aquaculture ecosystem, and one which has great value there. And we can learn a lot from, certainly Hawaii can learn a lot from what goes on in Norway and how they develop their aquaculture industry. And then also Singapore, which is 90% of global production is there. So for anybody involved in aquaculture, it's important that they have access to that market and know the players there. And I think from our perspective, being in Hawaii, we're able to share those networks and that insight and intelligence around building a market or seeing what the competitive landscape looks like. And, you know, we've got a lot of really valuable information with the ultimate approach of trying to launch and fuel the growth of the aquaculture industry globally. But Hawaii can play a very, very important part in that. And Hatch specifically, you know, our real sweet spot, I guess, is commercializing technology and bridging that gap between those early ideas to actually making them into something more concrete. And that slide that Alec talked about at the very beginning of this program, or sorry, this presentation, where you see the linear approach to it, there's a lot of work done early stage to try and get companies to the stage where they become successful. And I think being surrounded by the smart people in all these programs is one way for anybody listening here. If you want to take your business, your idea to somewhere that's going to be, has a really good chance of success, I think, you wouldn't do wrong in engaging with any of these programs and ourselves to make it happen for you. Hatch in brief, I just a quick run through on this. It's the world's first accelerator program focused on aquaculture, as I said. We've run programs in Bergen, in Ireland, in Hawaii. Obviously, we just completed the last cohort where we had 13 companies, one of which is going to talk to you in a second, Heidi from Kuhnla Agri-Systems. We've invested already in 30 companies in the last 20 months. And we fortunately, just before this COVID challenge, just closed an $8.5 million fund. So we've got a lot of money to invest, and particularly in Hawaii-based companies. We have a portion of our fund set out to find and develop and invest in Hawaii-based companies. So anybody out there with ideas and concepts that want to engage with us and look to see how we can maybe help you make your idea into something tangible, we're really happy to field those kind of calls also. Important in that is a network, guys. Everybody, I think, pretty much knows, it's not what you know, it's who you know also. And, we're quite lucky to be well embedded with some global, really successful companies globally, but also here in Hawaii with NELHA and HCDC and importantly UH, who I think have done a great job of building out an innovation supportive ecosystem. And proof of the pudding, just like Crystal alluded to, kicking out of programs, it's an important that teams see a program like ours or others like it, that it adds value to you. And part of that, obviously, in terms of growing your business, is raising money. And we're quite happy to say that some of our companies have raised in excess of 10 million in total so far, and I've done commercial deals with some of the largest companies out there. So we've proven that this model works, and from an aquaculture perspective, I think it's quite exciting for anybody being selected to join our program. And why aquaculture? Very briefly on this, it's the fastest growing sector in the world right now, and interestingly and specifically for the US. Many of you may not be aware, but in the last couple of weeks, the White House released an executive order basically to open up US aquaculture opportunities, and particularly around licensing. So a lot of aquaculture development in the US has been stymied with regulation. And I'm not saying open regulation is the answer either, but careful planning is certainly the order of the day. Because right now, the US imports 85% of its seafood, and even Hawaii imports 60% of its seafood when, you're surrounded by the most amazing resources and water like there is nowhere else in the world. And we can contest to that, having visited other locations. And for those listening, again, looking for opportunity in the face of the adversity that we're all facing today, 53% of all seafood consumed today is through aquaculture, and that is growing. So if you're looking for an opportunity in an industry which has significant opportunity, particularly in the US, but also globally, and there's a global demand for human protein, and these are key drivers to this industry growing. We're very excited about the opportunity and the future of aquaculture and its potential to have a positive impact and sustainable impact on the world globally. And we're looking for people and companies to be part of that journey. Where we invest, very briefly, is early stage technology, through the Purple Prize and New Ventures and obviously UH, between us, I think there's a lot of opportunity to use and share resources to access, the networks that we all have. And for us, it's a focus on sustainable aquaculture, covering nutrition, health, biology, farm tech equipment, and services. And a little bit more detail here, and I'm happy to share these slides, but nutrition has a lot of stuff in it, and genetics and health. I mean, even going as far as insurance and financial services, who would have thought that would have been involved in aquaculture? So although our focus is quite niche, you can see the range of opportunity for, even cell-based seafood and plant-based alternatives and, alternative proteins. There's a plethora of different subsectors within it. And we're looking for, new innovations and ideas that can, breach these and disrupt these areas. And I think there's a significant market for many of them. And what do we look for? Accelerator, obviously, seed or pre-seed startups, very much mirrors what Krista was talking about and her requirements for UH Ventures. A team of 2. It is a full-time program, and it takes a lot of commitment. And Heidi, I'm sure, can talk about that. Initial proof of concept, ideally some revenues a little bit further down the development chain, and IP ideally, but and then also a part of what we're excited about involved with the UH system is actually starting to engage with early stage ideation, the back of the paper napkin, where can that go? And, we're also really happy to be involved in that and to engage with people with those ideas. And I want to make a point here too, is the last program that we ran with 13 companies, and almost 50% of those had little or no aquaculture background or experience. They were using technologies. For example, there were some satellite engineers. There were others focused on different verticals, but they had technology that may have had an application in aquaculture. And that's something for those out there to consider. If your idea is focused on maybe on human health and it's not getting anywhere, maybe there's applications for your technology in aquaculture, and we're happy to jam with that and see where we can maybe provide some input. What's on offer? Most importantly, 130,000 in funding. Like everybody here, we've got some really cool people and knowledgeable people who can really seek to add value to you on a global basis. We've a lot of investors looking at this particular space, certainly from an impact perspective. And I think kicking out of COVID, there's, as you can see, there's a lot of signs all over the world of seeing things that they haven't seen for a while in terms of nature. And I think kicking out of this, impact investing and the climate change and all those things are going to be an important part of this. And I think aquaculture can play a really good and important role in that. The program is 15 weeks. I'll cover that in a second. And we hope to visit, COVID permitting, our locations in Hawaii, Bergen, and Singapore, and provide people with a truly global perspective of aquaculture. What we do focus on, we need committed founders. We obviously a really good technology, a business model and strategy, very similar to what's been talked about before. How big is that market and how can we crack it? And then most importantly, really, is the ability of those founders to execute. And I think that's the real crux of the matter. And that's where we hope to invest our money, is in smart people who can really deliver on their potential. Kona, Bergen, and Norway, and Singapore, we've different phases of development in each location. We may obviously look to do some virtual engagement, but even if people don't get to go to Bergen or Singapore, we hope to do some virtual farm visits and virtual engagements with people there, because we have people in each location, which could be quite interesting. So we hope to deliver a really complete program, regardless of whether we can get you to visit these sites. Either way, we're going to try to add the value that we know we can. This is the last cohort, quite a pretty bunch. And within that, right in the middle, in the middle is Heidi. And really, for me, the importance of this program and people listening is, how she thought of her experience of Hatch, and basically the effect of her engagement with us, where it's put her. And I'm delighted to introduce Heidi to talk about Kuhn Agrosystems.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Great. So my name's Heidi Kuhnle. I run a small business called Kuhnle Agrosystems. We call it KAS for short. We're located at the University of Hawaii Manoa Innovation Center, right here in beautiful Manoa Valley. What I'd like to do is offer a description of what it was like to participate in a business accelerator, the Hatch Business Accelerator. But before I get to that, just a few words about my background. I was a professor at the University of Hawaii for many years. I taught there and ran a research lab in the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources. My lab focused on developing new varieties of tropical flowers, tropical orchids for our local farms. And our lab specialized in flower color. And we used limu, specifically microalgae, as a model system for learning about these pigment systems that we were then trying to make beautiful colors in orchids using those model systems. While I was a professor, I took advantage of that 1 day a week consulting that we were allowed to do as professors, and that was to develop some algae technology that had nothing to do with my normal UH job. Eventually, I decided to leave the university to run some of the large grants that came into the company. But I was able to continue pursuing my love of teaching by implementing internship programs at our company that we do every summer. So now I'm going to tell about the Hatch experience. Let me see if I can share my screen. And is this working? Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes, Heidi.
Oh, great. I'm so happy that it works. All right. So sorry, I need to go at the beginning somehow. All right. Sorry, everybody. Just trying to get to the beginning. All right. There we go. So our starting point into the aquaculture accelerator was the following. We had a technology already developed. It wasn't fully developed, but we had a novel technology around which we founded our company. We had applied for our patent around that technology. And then fortuitously, in April of last year, we were introduced to Hatch by the University of Hawaii Office of Technology Transfer. We interviewed then in the month of April for the program, and that started the following August. The interview experience, just doing that itself, I highly encourage you to see if you can get interviewed by the Hatch people. Very useful experience. It was one of our first outside validations that we had a technology that could have an impact in feeding the world. So that was terrific. But then also we really enjoyed vetting this Hatch team because we liked their enthusiasm and understanding that they were 100% committed to this vision of serving humanity through sustainable aquaculture. So that was just a fabulous early contact with the Hatch group. And just to tell you briefly what we do as a company that they were excited about is that we do microalgae-based ingredients for both food and also for animal feed, specifically fish and shrimp feed. So we were very fortunate to be able to join the cohort 2017 that started in August. Khaleesi said some of this. When you're in a cohort or in a group of people and companies, you learn so much from each other, and it's a wonderful experience. And being able to join Hatch really for our company was a springboard to get us into the marketplace. And then also just understanding, going through these real world experiences with these other companies was hugely, builds your own confidence that yes, you can do it, you can have a vision and you can execute, and everybody's in the same starting point that you are. I didn't have a full business plan, I didn't have my pro formas, but everybody's in that same situation and we all get better at it. So this was the group that our company grew up with. And we started out over in Kona. This is the Hatch headquarters, as they have their very own building there with a gorgeous view. And inside that building is, is a co-working space. And then on another part of the building is where they hold these expert seminars. And that's where you'll learn about how, through meeting all these experts that they fly into the island, you can learn how your technology really can meet some of these needs in aquaculture. And also it opens your eyes to things you didn't know was going on. So just, fully intense experience all week long, but in a location where you just want to be focused on building your company. And then one of the big deals about Hatch is the farm visits and the customer engagement. Now you have to understand that Hatch has this huge network in the industry. They're super engaged with industry leaders, with aquaculture organizations, with technologists, with farmers, and through all of this interaction, you can gather your detailed market information. You can understand how you should be pricing your products. You can meet people who want to test your product and thereby get field validation. And also you're honing your business practices during this whole thing. So all this is just a huge thing about, rather than doing it on your own, work with Hatch to dive into the aquaculture space. Here's some images from our experience up in Bergen, Norway. I mean, it's all about seafood. This is what you eat every day. And you're right on the ocean again. And there you'll continue your networking with global leaders in aquaculture. In Norway and as in other places, you'll do a lot of field trips. Here's an example of some of the salmon farming sites we visited. And then there, in terms of the industry engagement, I mean, you could walk directly to the headquarters of Cargill in Europe. And that's what we did. And those are the kind of experiences that are absolutely critical that you Hatch that presents these opportunities to you. From Norway, we went then to another part of the world, starting in Singapore and Indonesia. And here's just some of the images from Indonesia, a lot of, a hotbed for shrimp production, really fascinating technology or lack of technology, and understanding, well, how you can really accelerate what they're trying to do, or lower their costs, or lower their disease, or whatever. So that was great that Hatch organized this week in Indonesia. And then we went to Singapore, which is another huge hub, in this case for the Asian aquaculture market. And also being in Singapore was eye-opening because there's so much of plant-based vegan foods or vegetarian foods there. And that's, as we, like here in Hawaii, try to become self-sufficient in our foods, understanding how we can get super nutritious food through what we can grow here on the islands, especially protein, which is very important for our health. We saw that firsthand in Singapore, how you can successfully have all these plant-based foods and get great nutrition in the same process. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because in our main product was these, what you can see on the left is our red algae, which goes into fish feed and shrimp feed. But waiting in the wings, we had this protein-rich food ingredient. And we would very much like to start scaling this up to start getting this plant-based or algae-based protein into our Hawaiian nutrition, but also the world. And there in Singapore, they got super excited by the fact that we had this kind of pipeline ingredient already to go. So it would never have been accelerated if it wasn't for the Hatch program. And so at the end of those 3 months together, the Hatch holds this demo day. And this is the picture of the group, all very happy to have survived the program. No, I'm happy because it was a terrific program. And then it doesn't end there. There's this definite Hatch effect. We didn't know that this would happen, but it's been, it's like the UH Ventures, as they have your back after you graduate. And for us, they have continued to support our acceleration into the market with our products. Leveraging that network is so important now that we're back in Hawaii, but to continue to have this critical exposure and comfort with the decision makers in these major global companies. And if you have a Hawaii-based company, you know that it's very disruptive to get on a plane and travel, or it's disruptive to your family, it drains your energy, it costs a lot of money. But through the Hatch network, you've now met everybody, you've made those contacts, and now you can comfortably continue here in our remote Hawaiian island to continue the business development and get our products into the market. So all this happening, the Hatch effect happening after we've graduated, has been super important for us. And also investment. I mean, there's the there's the investment at the outset of the program, but then post-Hatch, there's also can be investment. And that can be monetary, but also in our case, continued support through this commitment from the Hatch personnel to help us in our business development and getting us investor ready. That's been a substantial amount of their time, and we didn't expect it. We love it. We absolutely need it. And we're so grateful for that. So I guess I'll turn it over to Wayne then for finishing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heidi. And we're obviously very proud of the progress that Heidi and Gordon and our team have made. And I think I see a question coming up there about what I'm going to say now. But I think going out to the world and finding really understanding your market is an important part of any business that's going to be successful. And you know, I think there's a wonderful opportunity for those in Hawaii. Hawaii was the first place in the world to produce pathogen-free shrimp. It's renowned globally as a really cool place for producing aquaculture, and we want to build on that, and we want to help those with ideas and the drive to, you know, grab the market by the scruff of the neck, and then build a significant presence and opportunity from Hawaii. But thanks everybody, and thanks for listening about the challenges and the efforts that we're making to try and improve the scenario in Hawaii and other places in the name of aquaculture.
Great. Hey, thank you, Wayne, Crystal, and Heidi. Good stuff. And actually, let me tee up the question. It's for you, Wayne and team. Concerning the new travel restrictions and risk to exposure and transportation of the SARS-CoV virus, how have you adapted the Hatch Accelerator and product evaluation process?
Very good question, and for my fellow program directors on the line, it's a significant headache, and even more so for me, I guess, logistically, because of the expansive nature of our program. We next week we're announcing kind of an up-to-date. I mean, you saw from my slides that what's there is a physical visit, as we did last year, but we're quite cognizant that that's going to change. I think our program will most likely kick off virtually, and we will really monitor the situation all the time in terms of, you know, ideally getting people together. But if it turns out that that's not possible, it will be a virtual program. But I think there's also opportunity for people to do site visits, you know, even remotely and virtually, because we have people in all locations. So we're going to make sure that even despite COVID, that people are going to get, and companies are going to get, the full Hatch experience. But, you know, it's engaging with the team, obviously, and the mentors, which drives most of the value and the development. So that's not going to be diluted or affected in any way.
Thanks, Wayne. Any other questions from the audience for any of our speakers? One more for you, Wayne, Crystal, and Heidi. I read Hatch does not invest in fish farming. What is the difference between aquaculture and fish farming?
I don't think there's much of a difference between the two, but I mean, we don't invest in fish farming. The reason being, maybe the capex cost sometimes is far too great to get the business off the ground. But, you know, what we're really focused on is, you know, making that whole process more sustainable and less impactful on the environment, and improving the ways in which food is produced through technology. And I think that's where we can have the greatest impact on our investment dollars on the world of aquaculture, so that we can make this whole process of producing food, as I say, more sustainable. And we'll have a far greater effect than if we were to invest specifically in farms, because we get plenty of offers to invest in oyster farms and shellfish, other types of farms all over the world, but that's not where we're at, and that's where we don't see the value from the investments that we want to make in terms of the impact, the kind of impact that we want to make also.
And one more question for you, Wayne. Do you have a link for applying to have an aquaculture aquaponic process product evaluated?
Sure, it's hatch.blue/apply. I'll put it in the link here, and maybe Steve, if we have some kind of a synopsis afterwards for people to look to, you know, it's a quite forward application, or maybe my email can be given out. I can give my email. Just reach out. We'd like to help you in any way we can.
Good. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for the questions. Any other? While others are thinking about questions, I did get some private chats. Just to summarize some of those private chats, great content, excellent lineup of speakers. Why can't we do more of this? And then the other one that I really like was, show me the money. Thanks, Wayne. Let me see. Any other questions? Okay. Any last comments from the three speakers, the groups? UH Ventures Accelerator, Crystal, anything from you?
Nope. Thanks again, everyone, for joining in the Zoom call.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Wayne and Crystal, anything from you?
No, we're great. And look, I think it's great to get people online talking about this, because it's going to take a lot of people to make this happen and change the fortunes of everybody. So really excited to be part of it.
Okay, Kamu, Alec, and Khaleesi, anything from you?
Just thank you again for everybody out there listening, and especially those that stayed for the entire event. I'm really excited to push this forward, and I really have faith in our communities as our students, and just all of us as a collective family in Hawaii to be able to make some things that are awesome and scalable. Mahalo.
All right, good. So I'm going to wrap it here. Mahalo nui loa for everybody that's joined. Please spread the word around the importance of innovation and entrepreneurship, especially now, as indicated in the opening comments, about how dire our economy is. So spread the word. And remember this, tomorrow's innovation and entrepreneurship leaders are built and made today. All right, talk later. Bye-bye.
Mahalo.
Thank you.